of the meeting will be published on Council's website. Please stand for acknowledgement of country. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as traditional custodians of this land and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging. I ask councillors to remain standing for the council commitment. Others may be seated. As the council, we will act in the best interest of the Brimbank community and consider the immediate and long-term impact of our decisions. We will make these decisions fairly and without bias. We will uphold all of our obligations under the laws of Victoria and council's local laws, and we will act in accordance with the code of conduct. Councillors, please be seated. We have a late apology from Councillor Branton for tonight. There are 4 leaves of absence requests for this evening. May I have a move of a motion to approve this request? Councillor Nguyen. SP shared screen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
Second, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Okay. Councillor David. I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Okay. We're going to go to item 4, disclosure of conflict of interest. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest for tonight's meeting? Councillor Riley.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to declare a conflict of interest for item 12.4, report 12.4, due to employment.
Thank you. May I have a move of motion to alter the order of business of this meeting to consider Officers' Report 12.3, consideration of the proposed sale of Durham Road car park to the development of a cultural museum immediately before Officers' Report 12.1, planning activity update and delegate decisions and planning scheme amendments update February 2024. May I have a Councillor Papalia?
I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg?
I'll second the motion, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. I'm going to go to item 5, designation of items as confidential. May I have a mover of a motion to designate items as confidential? Councillor Papalia.
Chair, I move the motion as per shared screen. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second it as per the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. I'm going to go to item 6, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. May I have a mover of a motion to confirm the minutes of the previous council meeting? Councillor Nguyen.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the motion to confirm the previous council meeting minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. Motion is carried. I'm going to go to item 7, condolences. There are no items for condolences this evening. So we're moving to item 8, congratulations. There are no items for congratulations this evening. So now takes us to item 9, which is public question time. Mr. Belva, I understand we have received questions from members of the public for tonight's meeting.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have several questions. As some of the preambles to the questions are quite long, they might be cut a bit short for this process, but they will be printed in the minutes. First question is from Maggie Ralph. If questions must be submitted in advance and answers are prepared in advance, is it necessary for these to be read during council meetings, or could these be submitted in written form and ratified?
Brimbank's governance rule states that there must be a public question time at every fixed council meeting to enable members of the public to submit questions to council. Having questions submitted in advance allows time for more fulsome consideration of responses. Public questions and answers are published in the minutes of council meeting.
Maggie also asks, on February 2024, I attended council meeting. I had to provide my name and address and provide ID. While this seems undemocratic, I was more disappointed that the audio was not able to work in the overflow room. So half of those wanting to watch were moved into the hallway outside the council meeting, where most people sat on the floor. Is this a regular occurrence? Is council actively trying to discourage locals from attending meetings?
Due to ongoing disruption experienced at the council meetings, all members of the gallery are required to provide ID when attending council meeting to support continuous efforts to maintain a safe and secure environment for all participants, which allowing council to conduct an ordinary meeting. The use of the overflow room is not a regular occurrence and is designed to accommodate larger attendance at the council meeting as there is a limited capacity in the council chamber. We are working to improve the audio experience for all and take your feedback on board.
Jenny Isa has asked, on the Victorian Socialist website, it has a political campaign that is related to federal foreign affairs, which is the Free Palestine movement led by the Victorian Socialists. Victorian Socialist website has a diagram of all Victorian councils. It has political influence to pass a motion that was passed by this panel of councillors last month. Did this panel of councillors know that the Victorian Socialists had targets to pass this motion? And did you feel pressure to vote for a political target? And why is the panel of councillors using ratepayers' time and money to publicly advertise a political party during local election year?
From time to time, issues are considered and debated on the council meetings that are also advocated on by other groups, including political parties. I would like to note that the motion or debate on the motion in relation to this matter did not make reference to any political parties.
Jenny has also asked, the VCOSS recently compiled a report about heat stress and disadvantage. Brimbank featured 1 and 2 on both fronts again. In this very confronting 2024 report, it appears nothing has changed in the past 2 terms of this panel of councillors, 8 years. How will Brimbank respond to this report? And while this panel of councillors is trying to influence the federal government on other matters, can it try to influence state government on this crucial report that affects future generations and the current health and well-being of people of Brimbank?
Brimbank City Council recognises that we are in a state of climate emergency and we adopt the Climate Emergency Plan 2020-2025 to outline our priorities in responding to the climate emergency. We advocate regularly to state government to strengthen planning policy regarding residential design and planting for climate resilience on private property. We also advocate to the federal government for more funding for health and emergency services and infrastructure to better prepare for the effects of climate change, such as heat waves.
Sheila Stammers has asked a question in relation to the Phoenix Street Children's Centre. It's quite a long preamble and this will be printed in the minutes. However, the question is, why did council deem it reasonable practice to completely ignore community and not do any community consultation at any point prior to the decision making? And what is council going to do in the coming months to rectify this and revise the plan to allow Phoenix Street families and staff to stay during the redevelopment civil works at Phoenix Street Children's Centre?
Council works in close partnership with BPA Children's Services and have been having ongoing conversations about the development, including the design of the new building and temporary service relocation options for both of their services, Phoenix Street Children's Centre and Sunshine North Kindergarten. Through this partnership and in collaboration with the Department of Education, BPA and Council have worked to achieve the best possible outcome in the circumstances. Service scoping undertaken to the local area indicated a number of alternative long day care centres, but limits sessions kindergarten availability. Further to this, enrolment data indicates significant number of families attending the Sunshine North Kindergarten will vulnerability indicators. In response to this council approach, the Department of Education to fund a temporary facility for families experiencing vulnerabilities in accessing kindergarten. Department of Education has also provided conditional approval for the use of the kindergarten rooms for the provision of childcare, Dempster Park and Sunshine East Kindergarten. BPA and Council have been able to determine a solution that will support service continuation on both childcare and sessional kindergarten. BPA Children's Services and Council are joined hosting a community consultation session for impacted families on Tuesday, the 26th of March, 2024 at 6:15 at Dempster Park. BPA Children's Services will provide details to enrolled families.
Graham Bloor has asked two questions. Given that it's now over 1,000 days and we're still waiting for the Victorian bus plan, whilst our bus services continue to get slower and slower, will Brimbank Council again escalate our strong concerns about the lack of action to the Premier, the Minister of Transport and the Minister for Youth, in particular to ensure that our young people and those unable to drive can access employment opportunities?
Improved bus infrastructure and more reliable and high-frequency bus services is listed in Council's Advocacy Plan 2023-2025 as a gold priority under transforming Brimbank. Council will continue to advocate to state government, including with Lead West, Mvida, and neighbouring councils in the West, about the need for better buses and the rollout of bus reform.
Graham's second question is, given that the often promised airport rail link is again on hold for at least 6 years, will Brimbank Council support Melbourne Airport in calling for a semi-express bus service from Sunshine Rail Station via Carnley, Kialba and Keilor to the largest employer in the northwest region of Melbourne, the Melbourne Airport Business Precinct?
Melbourne Airport Rail was anticipated to be completed by 2029, subject to relevant planning, environmental and other government approvals. No update timeline has been communicated to Council by the state government. The provision of a bus service between Sunshine and Melbourne Airport was identified in Council's submission to the Melbourne Airport 2022 Master Plan, where Council recommended to include the provision of a dedicated express service from Sunshine Railway Station to the airport in advance of delivering the Melbourne Airport Rail project. Council's Sunshine Priority Precinct Vision 2050 also envisaged that the Sunshine CBD would be connected to a Melbourne airport by airport rail and also serviced by buses. Council is awaiting a response from the state government in regard to further planning of the bus network.
Diane Capelli has asked, in report 12.12 Green Gully Reserve Northern Precinct Plan, I was shocked to read that council spent in excess of $2 million on planning for a project they are recommending not to proceed now. Given the officers knew about the challenges, why did it take 4 years to come to that decision? Can you please explain how this project became a big waste of ratepayers' money?
Council officers have pursued this council-endorsed project in good faith and undertaken the necessary investigation work in a form and prepare for the development of a pavilion, a sports ground and associated infrastructure on this site, which has proved to be sensitive and complex. Funding for this investigation has been necessary to assess the feasibility of development of this site, with the majority of expenditure to date being directed towards offsetting native grasslands in this area. Whilst there have been necessary costs to progress the project to this point, these costs have been reported to ensure full transparency. With this context, officers' advice is that the anticipated cost to proceed with the project does not offer good value for money, and on that basis, I recommend that council not proceed with this project. This recommendation is outlined in the report being considered by council at this meeting tonight.
Diane has also asked, why wasn't council proactive in providing heat-safe spaces to our community before the heat waves as other councils were able? Given we have such high disadvantage, our community suffers greatly during the heat. Why is our community not entitled to seek refuge in places we pay for with our rates, and how can council improve planning for this in future heat waves?
Each council is able to make operational decisions about responses to heat waves, and this approach can differ between councils and can be dependent on a number of factors, including resourcing and local context. During recent high temperatures, Brimbank City Council took a number of actions to promote healthy and well-being of community members, including extending operating hours of our libraries and leisure centres, encouraging residents to go to shopping centres, beaches, or seek shelter at home with keeping cool tips, providing heat information on our website, posting information by social media with tips on how to stay cool and safe. We will continue to review and improve our approach for further instances of heat waves.
There are no further questions, Madam Mayor.
Then we're going to move to item 10 petitions. There is one petition to be received this evening, 10.1 Durham Road Car Park. Petition received from 211 petitioners objecting to the sale of any part of Durham Road Car Park for any development. May I have a mover of a motion to receive the petition? Yes, Councillor O'Reilly.
I'd like to move the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kerr.
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
I'll put this motion to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. Going to go to item 11, minutes, reports of delegated committees. There are no minutes or reports of delegated committees. Item 12, officers' reports. There are 16 officers' reports for consideration by council tonight. If you have an alternate or amended motion this evening, you must draft these motions and provide the governance team via email so that they may be shared on screen and form part of the meeting. Otherwise, we may have to defer the matter until the motion has been written along the meeting to proceed uninterrupted. We're going to go to 12.3, consideration of the proposed sale of Durham Road Car Park for the development of a cultural museum. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider all written submissions received after undertaking the statutory process in regards to the proposed sale of part of the land known as Durham Road Car Park in Sunshine directly to the Vietnamese Museum Limited for the purpose of operating a nationally significant cultural museum, and for Council to resolve its position on the sale. Officers recommend that Council notes that Council has undertaken the statutory process required to sell part of the land directly to the Vietnamese Museum of Australia for the purpose of operating the museum. Notes all submissions received and the minutes of the hearing of submissions committee meeting held on the 4th of March 2024, which is attached. And having considered all the submissions received, the Council resolves to proceed with the proposal to sell the parcel of land within the Durham Road Car Park directly to the Vietnamese Museum of Australia Limited. In addition, officers recommend that Council authorises the Chief Executive Officer to undertake action necessary, incidental and convenient in order to give effect to Council's decision within the parameters outlined in the report and its attachments, and notes a range of other matters relevant to the decision as detailed in the report and recommendation, and undertakes a range of administrative actions to give effect to this decision, including writing to submitters and stakeholders to advise of Council's decision. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, Is there any question for the director? If not, I'll ask for move of this report, but before we do that, can you speak directly in microphone because gallery can't hear us properly? Thank you. So do I have a mover for this report? Councillor Nguyen?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move the motion as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dang?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to second it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this motion?
Absolutely. Dear councillors, executives, and people in the public gallery and the wider Brimbank community, I stand before you today to urge you for your support for the motion concerning a remarkable opportunity that lies before us, the establishment of the Vietnamese Museum of Australia right here in Sunshine. This proposal for the sale of part of the car park in Durham Road has been the culmination of months of meticulous consideration involving careful examination of various potential sites, taking into account zoning regulations, accessibility to public transport, and the proximity to activity centres. And one crucial aspect we've assessed is the provision of adequate car parking for both patrons and nearby business owners. I would like to acknowledge the wide community engagement, both for people who are in support and opposition to the sale. And while there will be a net loss of 57 car spaces, the council has gone further works to put together a parking management strategy which outlines measures to mitigate these impacts, which can be further refined after the museum's opening. It is with due consideration, considering all the signatures, petitions, and all the reports, that the benefits and the support for the museum is far outstanding and overwhelming. Beyond being a repository of Vietnamese history and culture, this museum will serve as a beacon for cross-cultural understanding. It's not just a museum for Vietnamese Australians, but for the broader Australian community. Let that be clear. It will honour the rich heritage and contributions of the Vietnamese Australian population while also highlighting the shared experiences of migrants and refugees from all backgrounds, with the council also considering to build a welcome refugee plaza. With an expected 25 to 30,000 visitors annually, it will not only boost our local economy, but also elevate Sunshine as a vibrant educational and cultural hub, attracting visitors from not just Victoria, but around the world. The overwhelming support from various stakeholders, including esteemed individuals and organisations such as Sarah Craig, the CEO of the Helic Museum, the Refugee Communities Association of Australia, Gary Collins, the president of the Sunshine RSL branch, Dr. Hastel Hall AO, and the mayor of Maribyrnong underscores the significance of this initiative. And I also want to note that there is a letter of support with over 1,868,000 signatures and bipartisan support from both Labor and Liberal parties, with $10 million of federal funding, $7 million of state funding, and $1 million community funding. So there is so much momentum and support behind the construction of a Vietnamese museum in Australia. Furthermore, the VMA aligns perfectly with Council's long-term vision for Brimbank and complements the state government's endorsement in October 2022 of the Sunshine Station Master Plan, ensuring that Sunshine and Brimbank is placed on the map and to encourage further works in the transport area, including building of the spur line and so on. So,
1 minute left.
yes, having considered all things, let us seize this unique opportunity to celebrate diversity, promote understanding, and create a lasting legacy for generations to come. As one of Brimbank's 32,000 Vietnamese Australian-born residents, I'm so proud that the community and the council have come together to work to this point so far. And I implore each of you to lend your support to this motion, ensuring that the Vietnamese Museum of Australia becomes a reality in sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Councillor Seconder, would you like to speak to it? Councillor Dang.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I attended the hearing of Submission Committee on the 4th of March 2024. I heard some story from the communities that are really touching, and that recall my family story as well. My parents took us on a small boat, and we escaped Vietnam for 11 days. And I think I got a lot of things I want to share with you and also with the communities. And I believe that there's a lot of Vietnamese community out there. They want to share that too. And the VMA is the place where they will preserve and share the story to the whole communities. And echo to Councillor Nguyen just said about the draft car parking management plan, and had identified the mitigating measure, including increased parking supply, increase parking in the southeast Sunstrait, northwest Sunstrait, and also at Wall Street. And also the establishment of the National Vietnamese Communities Museum strongly aligned with the Transforming Brimbank and the Social Justice Program in the Together We Are Brimbank Council Plan for 2021 to 2025. So, Madam Mayor and councillors, I ask you to consider the support for the sale a park of Durham Road car park of the development of the Vietnamese Museum Australia. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Kerr?
I just want to commend Councillor Nguyen and Dang for a really heartfelt speech, and I just want to say that I really resonate with this project and I'm in full support of it. I know that your community fled communism and came to Australia for freedom, and I really respect that, and I'm really proud to have this museum in Brimbank. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? Councillor Borg?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would also like to echo my fellow councillors' support for this museum. It's a unique opportunity to have in our municipality. I believe that it does have a great deal of potential, and besides the preservation of the stories, the heartwarming stories that we have been hearing, and they are still to come, it's important that we pass them on to future generations and to our children, grandchildren, and beyond. I understand that there are members of the community who are concerned regarding the parking that is being lost through the part sale of this land. But having read the report, I am quite happy with the measures that Council is taking to mitigate the effects of this. So because of that, I am very much happy to support this report.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? Councillor David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And indeed, I had the privilege to chair the planning hearing a couple of weeks ago. And I was very much surprised. We had a very large number of submitters. And I was surprised that it was only...
Sorry, put microphone a bit close. Thank you. You can sit down if you, whatever it feels comfortable for you.
I was very surprised to see that there was only one person speaking against it. I was very much surprised at that. I was waiting to see more people speaking against it, but it was only the one person at the time. So to what we see and building-wise and everything else, it'll be an extremely good facility for the city of Brimbank. It'll create more atmosphere in that part of the world, the Sunshine West, which has been suffering for a long time due to other reasons. And also, the building itself, it'll be a multi-purpose type of happening. So it'll be suitable for all the other people that we've got in our city. The diversity we've got, we can use that building in the future. So I think it's a good sort of a decision, and I support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Anyone else before we put it to vote? Councillor Lancashire and then Councillor O'Reilly.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Lancashire, you don't have to stand up. If you would like, you can sit down and just keep close to microphone.
Thank you, but I do feel I would like to stand. As many of you know, I'm not well, but this is one of the items to which I particularly wanted to come along and make sure that my vote was cast on this important issue. The journey that many of our Vietnamese community have made to Australia in modern times is an amazing story of immigration and modern Australia. And likewise, the story of how we've got to this particular point is also a fairly amazing story of how we're achieving, hopefully...
Councillor Lancashire, would you like to take that microphone because we can't hear you properly.
Thank you. Can you hear me now? Thank you. And look, can I say when the original proposal was to establish it, I think in Footscray, while I would have personally liked to have seen it in Brimbank, I was very happy to see it established in the western suburbs. That was fantastic news to have that occur. Due to a terrible planning problem, they had to desperately look for another site quickly. And I think the response of this council to find a site, to move fast on this issue, to engage particularly in the extensive consultation, and as we know, not everyone was in favour, but the way in which extensive public consultation was undertaken, and the way we've been all to a number of meetings on this proposal, and having read the report, I can say that I can only draw the same conclusion and would encourage all other councillors to support this. This is an excellent proposal for tourism, for the Vietnamese community, and for Sunshine. The location there is special, and it will add, as mentioned, the building is fantastic, and the story it will tell will be told again and again for years to come for our community as a way of immigration, survival and renewal in a new country. So proud. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. So Councillor Riley and then Councillor Tarkos.
Thank you, Councillor Asic. I would like to speak about my support for the museum coming to Brimbank and Sunshine, but objection to the specific Durham Road car park site. Brimbank is home to many different cultures, including the vibrant Vietnamese community, who have a strong cultural and historical connection to Brimbank. The choice of Sunshine is also significant, so as to capitalise on the Melbourne Airport Rail Link and other developments helping shape our suburb into a super hub for many things, including arts and culture. I also strongly believe that having a space to pass on our stories, our cultural heritage, is very important. A portion of community feedback indicated support for the museum in Sunshine, but in a different location due to parking concerns. The Durham Road car park services a range of businesses, including multiple medical spaces that do not have their own car park. In particular, the potential lack of spaces in closer proximity to these businesses will make it harder for the elderly and vulnerable peoples to access these services. It will also increase the amount of cars parked in neighbouring residential streets, with patrons of local businesses, residents and museum/function centre visitors to be looking for on-street parking spaces at various points in the day and evening due to their reduced capacity at the Durham Road site. I understand that this development is contingent on funding and there are time restrictions, but a once-in-a-lifetime project must be done in the right place. I fully support the museum residing in Sunshine, but I don't support this particular choice of site, as taking away the car park will impact access to local businesses and most vulnerable and increase congestion in residential streets. A purpose-built link between both sides of Sunshine rather than the spur line would also be a more significant
1
connection
minute.
point, as it increases what options we have rather than takes away from what we have already. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, anyone else? Tarkus? Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate all the hard work that's been done in this proposal, and I take on board also the impacts that it's going to have on the existing community, as Councillor O'Reilly outlined. I think that the choice of the position will activate that area, but I think also draw some precinct investment, as everyone has mentioned, the super hub. I hope it also promotes better transport connectivity, and that it alerts state government that with a big project like this, that there needs to be also investment in transport to ease, access to the museum. If the proposed visitation will be over 2,000 people a year, then we need to ensure that the least impact is done to the community. But I fully congratulate this museum coming to Brimbank. Take on board all the reservations, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkus. Anyone else, councillors? Yes, Councillor Nguyen, right of reply. Yep.
Thank you, councillors, for speaking in support of the build of the Vietnamese Museum of Australia. And I would like to just say my reply to Councillor O'Reilly's he's mentioned about the issue of the car parking and the impact of the current residents and the business owners and patrons who go to nearby shopping areas. I'd just like to say I agree with Councillor Tarkus here that if anything, the Vietnamese Museum of Australia, it doesn't take away, but it adds to the economy centre. It's bringing a visitor economy. It's being a stimulus for the area. And furthermore, there's literally an endorsement of a Sunshine Super Hub strategy to increase better transport access to area. And also, if you read the parking management strategy, like we've already identified multiple measures in place to mitigate the impact of the parking, including looking for different areas to build car parking, parking restrictions, and so on. And yeah, also just as a final reply here, that I want to thank every single Vietnamese Australian, all the all time after time, festival after festival, they've been rocking week after week to get wide community support to build the Vietnamese Museum of Australia. Like, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out to our council's meeting, and all the supporters, all the veterans, all the people who support Multicultural Australia. Like, that far outweighs the impact of just carpet, which we will mitigate. So yeah, I want to thank all of you for rocking up and being so engaged in this process. So yeah, cảm ơn ông bà cô, bác chú, and for supporting the build of the Vietnamese Museum. So yeah, I highly urge councillors to support this motion. Thank you.
Just want to make a small comment. Being migrant myself, I am in full support of having Vietnamese museum here and embracing our larger Vietnamese population in Brimbank. Thank you. So after this, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. And it's carried. I would just like to ask who's against the motion? So it's passed, it's carried. So we're going to go to 12.1, planning activity update and delegate decisions and planning scheme amendment update February 2024. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to provide Council information on the status of planning permit applications and trends in planning approvals in Brimbank. Decisions made under delegated authority during February 2024 regarding planning permit applications and other matters, and the status of current planning scheme amendments as at the 29th of February 2024. Officers recommend that Council notes the planning activity update and delegated decision reports and the decisions made, which are included at attachment 1, and also notes the planning scheme amendment summary at attachment 3. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Are there any questions for the director for 12.1? If not, do I have a move of this report? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation on the shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I second the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report? No. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? I put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. So we're going to move to 12.2, Brimbank Planning Scheme Amendment, C214 Brim, Development Contributions Plan Overlay. Mr. Walsh.
Thank you again, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to consider submissions received in response to the exhibition of Brimbank Planning Scheme Amendment C214 and to determine the next steps to progress the amendment in accordance with the requirements of the Planning and Environment Act. Officers recommend that Council notes and considers the submissions, which are shown at attachment 1, and resolves to abandon Amendment C214 Brim due to the financial and strategic risks associated with progressing the amendment as detailed in the report. And following that, if Council resolves such, notifies the Minister for Planning of Council's decision to abandon the amendment and undertakes various administrative actions, including publishing a notice of the decision and writing to submitters to thank them for their submission and advising of Council's decision, and also would write to the Minister for Planning seeking an outcome to the state government's review of the development contribution system. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? If not, do I have a move of this report? Councillor Papalia.
Move the report as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second the report, thank you.
Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this report? No. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to the? Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, this report has been in the pipeline for a number of years, and it's great to see it coming to Chamber for a decision. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the submitters who submitted their submission regarding this amendment, but a lot has happened since then also. Just briefly, the scheme comprises of 2 existing development contribution plans, the Sunshine Town Centre DCP and Brim DCP 2016. Money used for infrastructure projects listed in the DCPs over a 20-year period. It's important to note that the proposed amendment seeks to include an additional 48 community infrastructure projects. In addition, if a project is listed in the DCP, that is the Development Contribution Plan, and implemented to the Development Contribution Plan overlay, Council is obligated to deliver the project. As it does not allow any flexibility, thereby posing a number of financial and strategic risks. Therefore, because of that, I am quite happy to support the officer's recommendation. I commend this report to Council.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. Going to go to 12.4, a former Sunshine Technical School submission to Heritage Council of Victoria. Mr. Walsh. We're going to wait for Councillor Riley to excuse himself. Yep.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is for Council to note the recommendation by the Executive Director of Heritage Victoria not to include the Sunshine Technical School in the Victorian Heritage Register as detailed at Attachment 1, and to consider endorsing the submission to the Heritage Council of Victoria shown at Attachment 2. Officers recommend that Council notes the recommendation prepared by the Executive Director, notes that Council officers have lodged a submission and endorsed the submission to the Heritage Council of Victoria about the former Sunshine Technical School, and writes to the Minister for Education to seek confirmation that the appropriate systems and procedures are in place to ensure that the heritage buildings at the former technical school are protected from vandalism, fire and dilapidation damage while the buildings are vacant, and also writes to the Minister for Precincts and the Minister for Education requesting that they pursue the creation of co-working or arts hub at the school site as an interim use to activate the heritage buildings at the site. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? If not, do I have a mover of this report? Councillor David?
I move the motion as printed.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Nguyen?
I second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor David, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, just very briefly, Madam Mayor. I'm glad that the officers supported the idea of having this old school, this old building referred to the heritage. It was brought up to us some years ago now, and I was adamant that this building had a lot of calls from people that attended the school, teachers as well, and it meant a lot to them if we kept that building. The building is in good structure. It needs a bit of cleaning, a bit of sort of freshener, and we can use that perhaps on community basis later on. As it's good position, centrally situated, and I'm very happy at that. And I'd like to say thank you to the officers for coming up with this support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this report?
Yeah, quite briefly. So I might say that while it is disappointing that the Executive Director of Heritage Victoria has recommended that it is not listed as a heritage site, I really commend the office's efforts in at least giving it a go and putting a submission to say that the Sunshine Technical School is a site of state significance. And I have heard many reports about there is sometimes vandalism that occurs at the site, and there does need to be something done about protecting the buildings that are currently there. And and why not do that through pursuit of a potential co-working / arts hub, and furthermore establish Sunshine as a cultural arts hub. Yeah, so I'd like to commend this report and urge councillors to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nguyen. Would anyone else? Councillor Borg?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, it's great to see that Council is supporting the Sunshine Technical College and putting it such a comprehensive submission. The preservation of significant cultural buildings is highly important, and the former Sunshine Technical College, also known as The Place, is one such building, as argued and demonstrated in this submission. In fact, it is very well demonstrated that it is of state-level cultural heritage. The submission includes that the place meets the test for criteria A, D, and H in accordance with the Victorian Heritage Register criteria and threshold guidelines. It also includes the 3-step test in the guidelines. Quite an interesting read. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it, to be honest. The steps are very diligently addressed, and I'm hoping to have a positive outcome. Thank you,
Thank you.
Calvin, and all the officers involved.
Thank you, Councillor Borg. Councillor Takos, you had your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I would like to say it's absolutely vitally important that we preserve our heritage, especially the technical schools, which, you know, unfortunately don't exist anymore, but provided some very strong educational support in our communities. And the way we preserve our heritage is to repurpose it and reactivate it, as we can see with the Hunt Club and other heritage buildings. We've repurposed them and they're used actively by our community as hubs, and we've been to quite a few of the art exhibitions in these buildings. Having this as an art hub will only, you know, ensure that it is protected and looked after and not vandalised, which is unfortunately what happens to a lot of the older heritage buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Takos. Anyone else, councillors? If not, I put this to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. Okay, we're going to go to item 12.5, Kilo Sports Club Social Room Extensions. Ms. Dumble.
Thank you, Mayor. This report provides a further report on the proposed Keilor Sports Club social room extension as resolved by Council at the June 2023 Council meeting, detailing the available budget, funding, procurement, project supervision, final project staging, risk management plan, proposed legal agreement with the club, and clarification that the project can be delivered within the available budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to move an alternate motion, Madam Mayor.
Yep.
Can it be provided on the screen?
Can we just first let councillors to ask a question of clarification? Sorry, councillors to ask officers question of clarification. Yeah. Councillors, are there any questions for the officers? Councillor Kerr?
Ms Dumble, can I ask you, in relation to your concerns in the report with a legal agreement, was one requested and denied by the club, or like a legal guarantee?
So the legal guarantees that are currently in place are with the club and individuals that are going as guarantors for money. The legal advice that we have is that is actually no protection for council, that council would need to actually enter a similar deed with each individual, not the club with the individual. So,
is there anything preventing us from exploring that option in entering into a deed with the guarantors?
No, that's possible.
Okay, and any estimate of cost involved in that?
I'd have to take that one on notice. I haven't got a quotation for that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillors, would anyone else like to ask a question? No? Okay, Councillor Takos.
Madam Mayor, may I move a motion that this report is deferred to the next month?
Give me a second.
Sure.
Okay, Councillor Takos first. So if she's happy with that, that can be foreshadowed.
Can I explain my reasoning behind that before, so she can make a decision on?
1 second.
Sure.
Okay, Councillor Takos had her hand up first, so we'll have to hear her motion. So it
I'm
has
happy
to be.
to hear, Madam Mayor, I'm happy to hear what the rationale is of delaying it though.
Okay, then.
I'm happy to
Yep,
hear.
that's fine then if you're happy with that. Councillor
I'm
Kerr?
happy to hear.
Okay, my rationale in deferring this is in light of the question that I asked Ms Stumble in relation to if there's further legal options that we can explore with the club and receive guarantors and provide further time in a month for further consultation for councillors and with the club so we can try and come to further agreements.
Councillor Takos, are you happy with that? So we give the club chance to work on that before anything is proceeded
Yeah,
with?
I'm happy to give it another month. Yes.
Okay, all right. Do I have a seconder on? Okay, before we have a seconder, Councillor Kerr, can you give the instructions? Thank you.
Sorry, Tony, can you just add in there further legal options in relation to a guarantee?
We have some technical difficulties. It won't be too much longer. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, it's just that I just wanted to see what other legal options there are essentially in relation
right now. Councillor Kerr, are you confirming it?
Yes,
That's what
as
you
per
asked
the
for?
shared screen,
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor, I don't, can Councillor Takos second it because she already, yeah. Councillor Takos?
I second as per shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, the reason why I've put this motion forward is because there has been so much time invested in this project. Everyone at the club, we've received state funding, and I just want to explore every option and make sure that no stone is left unturned. The Keilor Football Club is extremely important to Brimbank. It is the most prestigious club that we have in Brimbank. It promotes women, it promotes young children. It's basically the jewel in our crown, you know, and it's a very important part of Keilor and our history. And looking at the state of those club rooms, they're not friendly for disabilities. And I just think that in good faith, I could not support that report unless I was 100% certain that we have done everything we can to support this club. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Takos, would you like to speak to this report, to the foreshadow?
I'd like just to say that basically the amount of time, effort and resources and in-kind support that the club has invested in this to bring it forward has been incredible, and full credit to them for all the work that they've done, and you know, and also the goodwill in working with council for the last 8 months to get to this point. But I don't want to leave any stones unturned. If there are concerns that councillors have and they'd like some further time, and also for the club, more importantly, to have that time with council staff to explore all options, so that next month we come with a stronger proposition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this foreshadow? Councillor David and then Councillor Lancashire.
It's just a point of order, I think. It's been moved for deferral, moved and seconded. I don't think it's debating. We cannot debate deferrals.
So, Councillor David, they can debate because they're asking for a little bit different report than what Councillor had prepared for tonight. So, would anyone like to speak to it? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I congratulate Councillor Kerr and Councillor Tarkos for putting forward this proposal, and can only concur with what's been said, that I'm aware of discussions of these things going back years. I can remember being out at a function near the site and encouraged to go and look at the club rooms by Councillor Papalia, thank you very much, and have a look at what is there, and it needed to be upgraded back then. It's so important. There are a very large number of members of this club. It's very important to the City of Brimbank, and we do need to explore every single option, including these legal options. I think there's to throw away all of this, including the $700,000 that we would get from the local member to build this facility. I just think we deserve it to this club. We deserve it to Brimbank to make sure we have explored to the nth degree every option possible of making this work. So thank you again, and I would strongly recommend this motion to give us a breathing space to refine this additional issue, which I believe will be resolved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else, councillors? Councillor Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to ask a question, like, It's because it does say that council has sought legal advice in relation to the deed. Like, did council consider other legal options that council Kerr is proposing?
Thank you, through the Mayor. The specific advice was around the existing guarantees that the club have. So the advice was around that. We haven't sought advice around council actually entering into any other sorts of legal arrangements with individuals for funding for the club project.
Does that clarify your question?
Yeah, thank you. I think I would like to just speak and say, like, I'm of the opinion, considering the information provided in a report, that council does not need to pursue further legal options because we have already considered legal advice. And I guess it's up to council if you want to go even further than that. But like, we've already determined in the report that
Can I just clarify, you just speaking to it now? Yep.
yes, this
Okay.
motion. Yeah, I just don't think we need to pursue further legal advice. Thank you.
So speaking against it. Okay, thank you. Does anyone else would like to speak to it or against perhaps? You do have right of reply. Oh, sorry, Councillor David would like to speak to it. Thank you, Councillor David.
Madam Mayor, I'm not speaking against it, but the only worry to me is to do with the members that they want to guarantee money to the club. That's what it is, money. That's what we're talking about, money. And I've seen it before that didn't happen. It was just promise and things to come. And we have to have the money somewhere before this council proceed. I think that's just very clear. We can't guarantee money which we haven't got. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, you have a right of reply.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify for Councillor Nguyen that the legal advice is to explore options of obtaining a legal guarantee with the funding of the club, but we haven't explored that option as per my initial question to Ms Dumble.
Yeah, all right. So I'll put this for shadow to vote. All in. Okay, so it became a motion, so I'll put it to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. I'm happy to defer it. All against?
Madam Mayor, may I ask for a division?
Yep. All in favour, please. Lancashire, Papalia, Dang, Kerr, O'Reilly, David, Russick, Borg, and Tarkos. Against, Nguyen. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I ask for a motion for a 5-minute toilet break?
Do I have a mover? Would you like to move it?
I'd like to move that motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder, O'Reilly? All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. So we have 5. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. Open at 8:24. Going to go to item 12.6, draft sports facility hire, license and leases agreement policy. Ms. Dumble.
Thank you, Mayor. This report is presented to Council to consider endorsing the draft sports facility hire, licenses and leases policy and associated draft guidelines for a minimum 4-week community consultation. The policy is to be used in the ongoing allocation and management of council owners and or manage sports ground, courts, active areas and sport pavilions by sport clubs. Following community consultation, a further report will be presented to Council for consideration of adoption. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Do I have a mover of this report? Councillor Nguyen.
I would like to move the report as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second the report, thank you.
Councillor Nguyen, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes. So I would like to say that, like, council has always been, very supportive of our sports clubs and our facilities in various ways. And one of the ways that we go about it is looking at how we, help people get access to our sporting facilities through the form of facilities hire, licenses, and then leases. And I'm really proud that this new policy has included fair equal access principles, including the themes of affordability, priority of local access, participation of people from a wide range of backgrounds, which is fantastic. And I really want to highlight that we've reviewed discounts and that there are fair access principle discounts to encourage female participation in sports. And sports club can receive up to 80% discount. And then furthermore, sports clubs can also receive other discounts up to 30%, which is participation opportunities for newly arrived, culturally diverse, LGBTQIA plus Indigenous communities and people with disability, and also formal junior participation. But also, like, encouraging sports clubs to not take gambling revenue to help sponsor their activities. And yeah, I would just like to commend the officers for, trying to make sport more accessible for the wider range of people in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say that it's important to note that the development of this draft strategy involved significant consultations with all sporting clubs that will be affected by this strategy. A number of considerations were taken, including but not limited to encourage opportunities for women and girls. As councillors, we also had robust discussions with regards to the proposed fees to make them as fair as possible, while at the same time keeping in mind the rising costs of maintaining these facilities. I'm very much looking forward to the feedback from the community.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? If not, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to report 12.7, draft arts and culture strategy. Ms. Dumble, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents the draft Arts and Culture Strategy 24 to 28 for Council's consideration to be released for community consultation. Following consultation, a further report will be presented to Council for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Do I have a mover? Councillor Dang.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the report at shared screen, please.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Dang, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you and congratulate Director Lindy Dumbo and the team on the proposal of the draft Arts and Cultural Strategy 2024 and 2028 to grow and support opportunity for the community. This draft arts and culture strategy builds on the previous achievements and responds to the new challenges, gaps, opportunities, and in alignment with the Together We Are Brimbank plan. It brings arts and culture together to span a range of activity from visual arts, dance, theatre and music to fashion and other forms of design, which create significant opportunity for our community to participate in cultural and creative activities that help build social cohesion and the local economy and pride in Brimbank. I commend this report to Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Borg.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Brimbank Council acknowledges the high significance of arts and culture. Amongst other things, art and culture generate creativity, inspiration, a sense of pride, and last but not least, social cohesion. The current proposed draft strategy includes a new principle specifically related to First Nations engagement. It's important to have this principle included as it lines up very well with Council's commitment to First Nations people. As such, the Reconciliation Action Plan will have more focus on arts and culture. I'm very much looking forward to the feedback from the community during its consultation.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak to this report? I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.8, Sydon Park Sports Feasibility Final Report. Ms Dumble, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This report presents to Council the findings and recommendations from the Sydon Park Sports Feasibility Study. The study was developed to explore the feasibility of potential sporting infrastructure at the site. Included in the report is reference to a $500,000 state government pre-election commitment for planning and delivery of sports facilities at Sydon Park. This funding is able to be accessed within the term of this government and can be also for existing sports facilities at Sydon Park with approval by the relevant minister. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Are there any questions for the director? Councillor Lancashire and then Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, just a question in terms of the 500,000. We don't have that in the recommendation clearly, which is of a concern to me. Could I have some comments on that, please?
Yes, thank you through the Mayor. We've certainly made reference to the funding in the actual report. There isn't a funding agreement yet, so we haven't put a specific recommendation regarding that. However, we can still pursue any discussions with the state government based on the outcome of this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr.
Ms Dumble, is there a guarantee that this funding will be allocated within Taylor's ward?
Our understanding from talking to Sport and Rec Victoria is that it is for Sydon Park for sporting facilities at that site, and it's to be used during the term of this government. So it could be for something like the golf course, which is an existing sports facility. Thank you.
It's Councillor Papalia and then Councillor Lancashire or anyone else?
Sorry, my question, I just want to confirm because there's been a lot of discussion about if council passed or went for the officer recommendation that there is potential for this money that has been committed by the state government in the amount of 500,000 that may be lost. So I just wanted to understand, is there any indication that money would be lost, or are we, like you said, I know you mentioned the golf course, but can you talk a little bit more about that? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The pre-election commitment came as a surprise to council. We weren't aware of that, but also the state government weren't aware that we were about to start a feasibility study around sports facilities. So we've been in constant discussion with them, so they know that the feasibility will come out with some recommendations. So they have actually been kept up to date around what some of the elements of the findings have been, and that it was not necessarily going to look at that it was going to be that feasible. So they have verbally told us that they are able to, at the discretion, well, obviously with the approval of the minister, recommend that it be allocated to another sports facility within Sydon Park. Yep.
Does that clarify? Thank you, Councillor Newman.
Following on from that question, like how many sports facilities are existing currently right now at Sydon Park?
Thank you, through the Mayor. So there is the Keilor Golf Course. That is the main one. The other, I guess, what would be called potentially a sports facility is the the driving range as part of the golf course, but the model aircraft is potentially could be considered to be probably more of a recreation rather than a sport. But essentially, the current sports facilities that exist are the Keilor Golf Course, which also has a driving range.
Like my question to that, like with the 500K that was committed, like does it have to be sports facilities? Can it be recreational? Like, I suppose are there other options with that funding?
That's a very good question. We would really have to go to Sport and Rec Victoria to talk that through with them. They might be open to that, but I can't say that until we actually talk through some options with them.
Thank you, councillors. Any more questions for the director? Do I have a mover? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the motion with an amendment as against what was originally put up as an alternate motion.
Okay, give me a second, Councillor Lancashire. Can we have clarification, Councillor Lancashire? Thank you.
Yes, certainly. Having listened to the questions and the answers provided, it would seem that the recommendation is satisfactory. However, I certainly feel like I would like to see more clarification on that 500,000. The wording there has been developed by the director, and what's being suggested here that it would be added to an item E to the recommendation.
No, I don't think you can accept the money because it hasn't been offered. It hasn't been specifically given yet.
Yeah, that's fine, I think.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, do I have a seconder? Councillor Papalia? Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes. Look, thank you to the staff for doing a great job on reviewing what came out of the master plan to develop Sydon Park. I think
they can't hear properly, so maybe bring that. Yeah, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Turn it on.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Good. Yes, look, just to continue on, the
I think the 500,000, certainly I was concerned that it wasn't clear that we were going to get that or hold on to it. I think this recommendation just makes that clearer, that we continue to work towards getting that 500,000. And I'm very mindful that the gestation period of Sydon Park has been years in the making, and we've gone through a whole lot of processes to end up now with a master plan. It's not surprising that the facilities there in terms of sports, we've talked to councillors about a second 10-year plan and looking at moving forward on that. These are the sort of things that might well be needed in that sort of longer term strategy. And we're proceeding with things like the name change. We're proceeding with things like the Sydon Park Consultative Committee. As I said, we've got the master plan. We've got 500,000 funding towards looking at things, and the driving range is one that's sorely needed of improvement, and is an obvious thing that sort of level of funding could be very usefully put towards. So I think as a total package, the recommendation is realistic, worthwhile, and also helps the park move forward in a progressive manner. So again, thanks for the staff for the work that's been done in getting to this point, and I would like to recommend this recommendation to my fellow councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Papalia.
Thank you. I would just like to also thank the officers and all involved in putting together the feasibility and note the significant cultural heritage or cultural significance, I should say, at this site, as well as the native grasslands, and thank you for the detailed response, helping us form a decision that today. Thank you. I commend this report. Thanks.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak to Councillor Tarkos?
I'd like to also commend the report, and hopefully that money can be put towards the golf course. I think it's got a lot of potential now that it's come back to council with mural artwork. Also, the driving range is, as said, very in need of cover and protection from the weather. And a lot of people have also given me feedback with that when they do the actual walk itself, the circuit, that there's probably not a lot of activation for kids. They get to see the skink and everything, but they're looking for something probably a little bit more interactive, like even a cultural interactive a recreation centre would be really, really good near the shed area. But I commend also the government for recognising the importance of Sydon Park and allocating those funds.
Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this report? If not, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.9, final draft remaining Sydon Park. Ms Dumble.
Thank you, Mayor. This report seeks to note the outcome of the community consultation process on the renaming of Sydon Park. The consultation to support the renaming was held from the 1st to the 30th of November 2023. 3 Woiwurrung names provided by the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation were offered to community for their feedback via Council's engagement platform, Your Say Brimbank. Based on the consultation outcomes, it is recommended Council approves Yallik Barring Park, meaning River Trail, as the new name for Sydon Park. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Are there any questions for the Director on this report? Do I have a mover? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to move the officer's recommendation on the shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Borg.
I'll second the report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report?
Yes, I certainly would, Madam Mayor. First of all, thank you to the officers who have worked on this report and getting this through to this process, to the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Commission. Look,
fantastic that they've worked with us on this, given us names. We've gone through a consultation period, and look, I am mindful that this came up as a discussion point while other issues involving the Aboriginals were going on, and probably got caught a little bit in that. However, clearly it has good community support. The idea came from the community. The Sydon Park Historical Society, who obviously has a name interest, supports the change. The Friends of Sydon Park support the change. And as far as I'm aware, other groups have supported the change. And there's been, in fact, a very interested community interest in this project. Yellowbarring Park, I think the idea of do we need park at the end of it, that has been adequately explained by the director, why that needs to be put in that context. And I guess there might be one small downside, that the Friends of Sydon Park, FOSP, will now maybe have to think about the Friends of Yellowbarring, FOIB. So it can be their foibles as to this name change. But other than that little issue, I think everyone's quite excited about this. Bear in mind that this is one name change of a park which I've always maintained has significant tourism potential. It is something that not a wholesale process to start engaging in name changes all over the place by any means. This is just our largest park, our most significant park, and giving it an Aboriginal name, I think, is very appropriate. It's supported by the Aboriginal community, and I think it sets this park up, as we've mentioned before, in terms of a whole series of things which are going on to take this park forward. It's something we can be very proud of as a community, as a council, that we're taking this bold step to achieve this and change this name. And bear in mind that Sydon Park was a purchased piece of land, farmland, and I guess at the time someone decided to give it a name, and it's quite some distance from Sydon Park. This is a change which I think is excellent, and I would recommend it to my fellow councillors. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Councillor Borg.
Yes, I just want to say, as Councillor Lancashire said, great to see such a wonderful response from the community with 164 valid feedback responses. And as Councillor Lancashire mentioned, the majority of the community are in support of the name change. Indeed, 61% of the respondents approved of the name change. An Aboriginal name of this park demonstrates and reflects a great sense of pride to the rich Aboriginal cultural heritage. Womenjika Yalakbarik Park. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak? Councillor Tarkos.
I'd like to say that this name change, a lot of people were asking why it's been changed. I think it shows great respect for the land, and that a lot of the land that is adjacent to the creeks and the waterways that come from Sunbury are also experiencing a transition to be put back into the original owners' hands. And I think Yellowbarring Park reflects very much the spirituality of this particular place where the two creeks meet and where the Maribyrnong River, or the saltwater as known back then, the saltwater river starts. And I think that having also an entrance with a lot more wayfinding, a lot of people, understand that this park is very special, but also that we have a lot more, wayfinding signage so that people know how to experience the park would be really good with this name change. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors. Would anyone else like to speak to this report? If not, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.10 Governance Report, March 2024. Ms. Hill, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The monthly governance report is a standing report to Council in accordance with best practice and good governance principles, and to ensure in compliance with the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020, the Code of Conduct 2021, and the Councillor Support Policy 2020. In this month's governance report, Council is asked to consider a summary of recent governance activity, contracts entered into and works orders approved in accordance with the S7 Instrument of Subdelegation, Councillor declarations of representations by Members of Parliament, the Councillor Support Expenses Report for quarters 1 and 2 of financial year 23-24, the proposal in relation to the Brimbank Aquatic and Wellness Centre rear car park extension project, and the appointment of substitute recommendations to the Heritage Advisory Committee and the Economic and Employment Advisory Committee and the Western Melbourne Tourism Committee in order to accommodate where councillors are on a leave of absence. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, councillors. Do you have any questions for the Director? Do I have a mover? Councillor Papalia.
I move the motion as per shared screen and appoint Councillor Sam David as the substitute representative, as per shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to this report?
No, thank you.
Councillor David, would you like to speak to this report?
No, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillors? Would anyone else like to speak to? No? I put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.11, Advocacy Report. Ms. Hill, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides an update on Council's major advocacy initiatives and highlights since the last advocacy update in December 2023. The report also seeks Council's endorsement of motions to be submitted ahead of both the next State Council meeting of the Municipal Association of Victoria, to be held in May, and the National General Assembly of the Australian Local Government Association, to be held in July. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, are there any questions for the Director on this report? No. Do I have a move of this report? Councillor Borg.
I'll move the report as per shared screen.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lancashire.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to second the report.
Thank you. Councillor Borg, would you like to speak to this report?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. It's quite a standard report.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. C notes the update on the ongoing Fix the Calder campaign in response to the Australian Government's withdrawal of funding. I would have to say, so disappointing that this funding has been withdrawn. This has been a campaign that has gone back before the administrators to the previous council, and this council has done so much work, particularly in your time, first round as mayor, to lobby for this. We note with great excitement, of course, that there is the bridge rapidly approaching completion this year of, I believe this year, of the railroad crossing at that to this. So, and further to the south in Melton, we have the bridge. So this is our major north-south connector within Brimbank and Melton. And it is going to take an increasingly higher level of traffic to what is a major growth area to the west, heading out towards Melton. So this, and of course we've also lobbied for the railway station there, where you could quickly turn off rather than try and fight your way through to the Water Garden station with car parking problems. There's so much opportunity here. Fixing the Calder is a very important element of that. An interchange there would allow people to just pull off the Tullamarine, the Calder, freeway, and come down south along that major north-south route, possible future railway station in the future, over that bridge. There's so much that's been done to open up this site to not continue is a travesty of justice. So I would certainly support this recommendation that's being put forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lancashire. Well said. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to speak to this report, councillors? If not, I'll put this report to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to 12.12, Green Gully Reserve, Norton Precinct, Enhancement Plan Project Update. Mr. Livers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This report provides a status update on the Green Gully Northern Precinct Enhancement Plan. Council endorsed a precinct enhancement plan for the precinct in July 2020 and awarded consultancy contracts to plan and deliver this project in August 2021. The scope of the current project was to develop a pavilion, sports ground and lighting with car parking, playground area and path network. Council's allocated funding to deliver the project in the last 3 financial years, and to deliver the project would require funding in at least 2024, 25 and maybe beyond. The site is complex with native grasslands and notable cultural heritage. Archaeological fieldwork in late 2023 discovered cultural artefacts, which has triggered the need for further complex testing. At this stage, we've not pursued that testing. However, if artefacts of Aboriginal significance were found, this could add significant delays and costs to the project, which and those costs are unknown. A CHMP may also, sorry, a Cultural Heritage Management Plan may also be required. Best case scenario would be construction start date in March of 2025. We've estimated worst case could be March 26 or beyond. The current estimate to deliver the project is in excess of $16.15 million, and that's a figure that doesn't include escalation. So assuming construction could start immediately, which it can't. So on that basis, it's likely to be closer to $17 million based on escalation alone and could cost more. The cost of digs and any subsequent works required as a result would only add to that cost. And it's on that basis that officer advice in this report is that the project doesn't offer good value, and are recommending council does not proceed with the sports facility at this location and rather reconsider the future use of this site as part of the broader open space planning for the city.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director, Councillor Lancashire and then Councillor Tarkos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I thought there had been discussions at one stage of splitting the development over 2 years. Has that actually gone to a council resolution, or was that simply at discussion stage?
Councillor, I can't answer whether there was discussion about that. It is likely, if council were to embark on this project to deliver a $17+ million facility, that it would need to be at least 2 years, and it might be multiple years. I can say, for background and context, there was a proposal for a second stage of this project. That second stage is not factored into the cost that I've talked to in my introduction. That is further works. Stage 1 would be a single sports ground and pavilion. Stage 2 could potentially offer additional facilities, but that is absolutely a separate stage and not part of this, and is subject to the same complexities around native grasslands and cultural heritage on site.
Councillor Tarkos.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask the Director that in one of our updates, we were told that to not progress with this would be more costly than to not progress with it. And keeping in mind that there are two sports, there's a sports site adjacent to it. This is built on a tip, the Keilor tip as well. There's a path that's already been put through there. And also the school KDC that backs onto it as well. So I'm just trying to comprehend at what point this project became escalated to $17 million from, because it hasn't been just going for 4 years. This has been ongoing now for several years, and to the point where clubs were approached for expressions of interest for this the grounds. So I'm just trying to comprehend at what stage the complexity was recognised and why it wasn't perhaps acted on earlier and we allowed it to extend to this point?
Through the Mayor, I'm not aware of an expression of interest process with the clubs. I might have to take that on notice and speak to my colleagues. I don't believe there's been any formal process for that to occur. It would be very early to undertake such a process, given we're at least 2 or 3 years away from delivering a project on that site. It's true to say that the project has had a long gestation, and I spoke to that in the introduction here. The trigger for bringing the report to Council now is that, and it's true, Council has made an investment in this site to explore this project. The archaeological work that has been done recently, at the end of last year, is what has been a tipping point for us to rethink the project and bring back advice to Council, and we've done that at the first opportunity. So with the additional field work, that adds time and cost and complexity to the project. It was already a high cost project for what would be delivered on site, and with that additional context, our advice is that it's not good value, which is why the report's being presented tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr. Councillor Kerr, just one second. Lindley wanted to say something on this.
Thank you, Mayor. I can just add to the question around expressions of interest for clubs to be of that site. We have not done any expression of interest for usage of those facilities. Thank you.
Sorry, Linda, can I just respond? Clubs were talked to about the site.
Thank you. The clubs are very interested in that site, and we've certainly kept them up to date with the progress of the facility development, but we have not done a formal expression of interest at all for that site. Thank you.
Councillor Kerr?
Mr. Levers, I was wanting to confirm, is it correct if by me saying that we have spent $2 million of ratepayers' money already on this failed project?
Through the Mayor, yes, that's right. That's what the report has reported to Council, and again, that's for transparency. There has been cost to get the project to this point. I would say the majority of that cost is actually in offsets for the native grasslands that have been identified on that site, and it was necessary to pay offsets to explore this site. Those costs have been reported to Council, and Council has resolved to approve the expenditure for those offsets.
Thank you.
Councillor David?
Madam Mayor, we did have a tour. We took a tour there with a bus to that site, and we, the councillors, gave the green light at that time to the officers to continue and come back with a report, and it did. And look, there's no doubt that every day of our lives is new communities coming into this town, and everyone wants to play sport. Everyone wants to have somewhere to play. So that's what we have before us, and according to the officer as well, $2 million already been spent. So yeah.
Okay, it's just a comment, not clarification from you. Okay, thank you. Yes, sure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Levers, can I ask, were there any other options explored for watering down any other projects within the municipality to avoid us wasting $2 million worth of ratepayers' money?
Through the Mayor, I'll take the question as being, are there other projects that we think are poor value that we're recommending? And the answer is no.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any more questions for the Director? If not, do I have a mover? Councillor Lancashire.
Madam Mayor, I believe I've put up an alternate motion for this.
So just to clarify, you are moving alternate motion.
So I would like to, if I could read it first, the Council report back to the next Council meeting on the process required to proceed with this sports facility and provide Council with alternative funding options if required for budget reasons such as delaying road projects. I would move this alternate motion. Thank you.
Can we get clarifications from Director or CEO on this alternate motion, please?
Through the Mayor, the report in front of you tonight provides options, and it does include an option to proceed, and it outlines the steps we would take should council wish to proceed. So I haven't prepared a motion for that, but the report does include an option to proceed. So that is an option in front of council. And sorry, Mayor, if to speak to the substance of the alternate motion, the only additional advice sought there is options in terms of how we might fund that through the budget. That's something we would consider as part of the development of the 24, 25 and future budgets should council want to proceed with the project.
Thank you. Back to the alternate. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kern?
I second the motion as per the shared screen.
Thank you. Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to this alternate motion?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, I guess, as has been indicated in the questions that have been raised so far, this goes back to the very early days of our first term as councillors, where all the councillors and the management team wandered across the site, looking at it and wandering across it, and giving consideration to moving forward with this particular facility. We have spent money on putting a new access road in and car park, which is excellent and well designed as part of a first step. So millions have been spent on setting this up for this future development. The site is largely a filled site, so the native vegetation that might be there is probably blown in. I would be surprised about cultural heritage occurring there, because we've certainly put a path through, and whether we went through that process for the path, I don't know. However, I guess the community, and over years we've spoken to recreational groups who have said we're booking sites for our clubs outside the municipality. Overflowing clubs, grounds that are fully booked up in this area, such as the Taylors Lakes Football Club and things like that. This is clearly needed. It's been part of our long-term strategy to add this facility to the overall group of facilities we have to meet our ongoing commitments to the sportsmen and women and sports children of this community. Without this, I believe we're going to start to fall behind, and we've really got to start to ask ourselves questions about if there is concerns about funding. We haven't seen the detail there, but again, there might be facilities that we can delay in lieu of delaying this facility. For example, delaying a particular road work somewhere might allow us to go ahead with this. And people are asking the question, do we want to see cars, or do we want to see facilities for our children and our sportsmen and women? Do we want to improve the health of our community, or just simply proceed with other works that are in our capital works program? As councillors, we have again and again and again said we'd like to see options as to if these difficulties come up. So there's two things here. What is the nature of the financial difficulties we've been? Because in the past year as mayor and as a councillor, we haven't seen that evidence, so we need to see that. And secondly, what options do we have to rearrange things? And it's always been said we can do that if it's necessary to get a great project off the ground. So again, look, I would recommend to my fellow councillors the alternate motion as an option to explore these issues a bit further. It's a bit like deferring it in some sense, but in another sense, it'll give us information which is vital, simply than scrapping and wasting $2 million of investment at great disappointment to to our community and sports groups who have lobbied for this for a long time. And so I would recommend this alternate recommendation to explore these things to my fellow councillors. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Considering we've spent $2 million of ratepayers' money, I'd also like to see some further options on the table. The Green Gully precinct is extremely important for Keilor Downs, for Kielba, for Keilor. We've got many people there with some great disadvantage, and we're just looking at the upgrades to the roads and the dog park. This is a huge loss for the residents of Keilor Downs and Kielba, and I really urge the fellow councillors to just really understand that we have spent $2 million of ratepayers' money, and this project has been, looked at for the last 7 years. And I'd be highly disappointed if this didn't progress. And I just urge my fellow councillors to support Kielba, Keilor Downs, and Keilor. Thank you.
Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? If not, I put this motion to Councillor Tarkos, yes.
Yes, I just wanted to also add that this project has been found its beginnings in the first term, when we did do a drive around the whole of Brimbank to identify strategically spots for future sports and recreation facilities. And because they're already existing there, and near the water reticulation place that is also due to be upgraded, we can also look at reducing the footprint so that it doesn't interfere with the fauna that's there, and looking at co-sharing the facilities. The car park is already in existence there. It's a fairly new car park, and there are 2 other clubs that are nearby. I think that interactively it could also assist the Keilor Downs College, which is adjacent to this ground, in supporting them, providing them further space for their recreation as well, and doing a partnership with that school. I think it would totally be to totally throw away this opportunity when we've got diminishing space for sports and recreation as it is, and we've done so much groundwork. To actually walk away from it now would be really wasteful, I feel.
Thank you, Councillor Tarkos. If there is no more councillors to talk this motion, I would like to put it to vote. So all in favour, please raise your hands. All against? This motion has lapsed. Thank you. Lost, sir. Yes, of course you can. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Councillor Kerr, Lancashire, O'Reilly, Councillor Bork, Councillor Tarkos. All against? Councillor Papalia, Dank, David, Nguyen and Rustic. Thank you. 1213, contract number 22/3211, PA 2403/0109, supply. I was doing my job properly. Thank you very much. I was going to 12.13, contract number 22/3211, PA 2403-0109, supply and delivery of bulk fuel, extension of contract.
Sorry, have we resolved on that motion?
It didn't pass.
That was an alternative.
Yes, please, thank you.
Just for explanation, that was a motion before the council. It was not an amendment to an existing motion. It was the motion before the council. The officer recommendation was not moved or seconded. So therefore, on the
Point of vote, like what we did was we moved Councillor Lancashire's motion that lapsed, and now there's no motion at the moment. We haven't even
the
spoken
motion
about.
was lost on the count of the casting vote of the mayor, the chair. Therefore, the motion was lost. It was considered and lost. There was no foreshadowed motion. Therefore, you cannot go to another motion if the motion has been lost.
Can we move this motion on the screen now? I would like to move a motion.
The matter has been considered. A motion was moved. The motion lost. That matter is now being heard.
Are we clear now? No? Okay.
That becomes a substantive motion in that regard.
Okay, can you explain?
We have no motion on that motion. We voted against the alternate motion.
So.
Historically, we would just go back to us. That's what we've done for the last 4 years. Agree? Yeah.
We're going to adjourn meeting for 5 minutes.
and there was no foreshadowed motion, this report cannot be considered again tonight. It may be considered at another council meeting if the CEO puts it back into the agenda.
Thank you. So we've got clarification now. We're going to move to 12.13. I already read out. Mr. Livers, can you please present this report to us, or just quickly?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. This report proposed an extension of the current contract for fuel supply until 31st of March 2025. This contract was awarded for 2 years under delegation with council approval in March 2022. Officers have determined that the contract is delivering good value for council and recommend extending the current arrangements for a further year. The value of this extension is $2.2 million, and this is required to deliver council services. Officers recommend the extension.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions for the Director? Councillor Papalia?
Use your microphone.
Is it possible to move 12.13 to 12.16 as a block motion?
Yes, we can consider that. Thank you.
Thank
So
you.
would you like to move it in a block?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lancashire?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I second that proposal to include that as a block.
Thank you. As we're including it in a block, I would like to ask councillors to vote on it. So all in favour, please raise your hands. Carried. So we're going to have in block 12.13, 12.14, 12.15 and 12.16. And before we move all this, I would like councillors, have any questions for the Director for all these items, or individually for each, if they have any interest or questions of clarification? No? I put all this in block to vote. I'm sorry, do I have a mover before I do that? To move all these motions. Councillor Papalia?
Yes, I move the officer as per shared screen.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Lancashire?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I second the motion up on the shared screen. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Papalia, would you like to speak to any of those reports? No? Councillor Lancashire, would you like to speak to any of those reports?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to any of those reports? I put these reports to vote. All in favour, please raise your hands. It's carried. We're going to go to item 30, notice of motion. There are no notices of motion. Item 14, notice of rescission. There are no notices of rescission. Item 15, urgent business. CEO, is there any urgent business for tonight?
There is no urgent business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Item 16, confidential business. There are no items of confidential businesses for tonight. Thank you all for attending and for your interest in tonight's meeting. I declare this meeting closed at 9:26. I instruct Channel 31 to stop live streaming this meeting. Thank you.